Please welcome to the stage your panel and moderator on the theme of inclusive communities, youth leadership and social responsibility. Please welcome your panel and your moderator for the next 25 minutes or so. Ladies and gentlemen, here they come.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and peace be with you all. My name is Shamma Ahmed Al-Qatba, a researcher at Trends Research and Advisory, and it is both an honor and a privilege to welcome you all and to be here today with you to moderate the very first panel discussion of the second International Dialogue of Civilizations and Tolerance Conference, titled Creating Inclusive Community, Youth Leadership and Social Responsibility. Ladies and gentlemen, we gather here today at the crossroads of ambition and responsibility, where the energy of youth meets the timeless pursuit of inclusivity. This panel is not merely a forum for discussion, but a canvas where ideas will be painted with purpose, voices will echo with conviction, and visions of inclusive community will take place. In a world that often feels divided, it is our young leaders who hold the brush, daring to color outside the lines, challenge the status quo, and create spaces where diversity is celebrated and every individual feels seen, heard, and valued. Today, we embark on a journey of dialogue that seeks not only to inspire, but to ignite meaningful action for a more inclusive tomorrow. We're privileged to have with us an exceptional panel of speakers whose expertise spans critical domains, academia, cultural heritage, and sustainable development. Their insights today will illuminate the pivotal role young leaders play in shaping inclusive communities and the responsibilities we all share in supporting them. Please join me in welcoming first Dr. Mohammed Dahiri, Professor of Arabic and Islamic Studies at the University of Madrid, an expert in cultural and religious harmony. Second, we have Professor Zekirija, Sejdini, Professor for Islam and Contemporary Society at the University of Vienna, a leading voice on modern Islamic discourse and inclusion. And third, we have Dr. Yigal Ben-Shalom, President of the Association for Yemenite Society, Culture, Research, and Documentation, dedicated to preserving cultural heritage. And finally, we have Dr. Rashed Karkain, an environmental and sustainable development expert, passionate about sustainability as a pillar of inclusive growth. Welcome to you all, and it's truly a privilege to have you here today with us. So I want to start out our discussion. I'd like to start with posing this one simple and yet quick question to all of you. So in one sentence, what do you believe is the main factor, or let's say a quality for building inclusive communities through youth leadership? Is it innovation? Is it responsibility? Or is it basically passion? What do you think and why? I'm going to start with you, Dr. Mohammed, if I may.
أعتقد أنه يعني من صفات أعتقد أنه من صفات يعني الشاب الفعال في تعزيز المجتمعات المتماسكة هو قدرته على التواصل الفعال، هو كذلك قدرته على تقدير الاختلافات الاجتماعية والثقافية، وأن يكون مبدأه أننا مختلفون ولكن متساوون، بمعنى أنها بغض النظر عن مكان ولادتنا أو معتقدنا أو بلد ولادتنا أو منشأنا، فنحن نشترك مع الباقي في الإنسانية وفي كرامة الضمير يعني. لأنها باقي الأشياء يعني تتدخل في عوامل أخرى حسب يعني مكان الولادة، حسب يعني الآباء، لا نتدخل فيها. فحينما تكون أضيف إلى هذا يعني الالتزام بالقيم الإنسانية، بمعنى ما يجمع هذا الشاب يعني مع باقي الشباب ومع الإنسانية بشكل عام، أي العمل على العيش المشترك مع الآخر. ثم يعني أحد القيم التي يحتاجها يعني أو يحتاجها شبابنا في الظروف الحالية، خصوصا في عالم يعني متشابك متداخل يعرف تحولات سريعة، وهو قدرته على التكيف، يعني أنه الابتكار في اقتراح حلول لمشاكل ربما تعترضه أو يكون له دور في حلها يعني.
I think all of that checks the column of responsibility. I want to now move on to Professor Zekirija. So what do you think is the main factor? You're most welcome.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank all for this invitation, and especially to Emirate scholars for this great conference. I'm happy to be here. So before we spoke, it was a quotation from Goethe, and I want to start also with it. He said once he wants to write a letter to a friend, and he said, "I'm sorry that I will write a long letter because I don't have time to write a short one." But I had time, so I just took my notes, and I will read some points, remarks. So in my opinion, an effective youth leader primarily demonstrates empathy, strong communication skills, and openness to various life experiences. The recognition or they recognize the value of diversity and craft strategies that include different opinions, cultures, and backgrounds, as we see here. Establishing trust is crucial, ensuring that all participants feel safe to express themselves is something very crucial at this point. Additionally, let's say a youth leader should foster initiative by allowing group members to contribute ideas and take one responsibility. So I think that for the beginning, it's enough said.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm going to go to you, Dr. Yigal.
Thank you. I also would like to thank to the center for this extraordinary conference. Thank you very much. Well, I think I can answer according to my background. My parents came from Yemen to Israel, and I think that the most important thing is to understand the background of the other communities and share empathy. In my experience, when I was young, I was different. I mean, my parents came from Yemen, and in Israel, the most popular culture was European, like Western. And when we came with our tradition, it was very hard to be integrated. So in my experience, I thought for the youth, I encourage youth to show their tradition and not like a melting pot, but to give the advantage of their culture. So eventually I became in the government, Director General of the whole Social Security of Israel and the Ministry of Labor, and then I became a professor in the university. And what I have done, I saw that the Western music, like recognized by the government, is like we have heard last night, classical, like Beethoven, Mozart, whatever. So I've established a new orchestra that show all the people of Israel, the Western and the Eastern, and coming from Arab countries. There is a very nice music which comes from the Arab environment. So I want to show you a short one minute of the music that now had been recognized by the government of Israel as part of a national music. Can you show it, please? Thank you. So I think that not only to talk to people, but to show them and to be integrated with a lot of empathy. So I do that in the university when I teach. So the curriculum include lessons about the different culture of different communities, and also I integrate young students to be part of the organizations that deal with different communities in Israel.
That's very interesting. I want to now move on to Dr. Rashed. What do you think is the basically main factor for building this inclusive community that youth leaders should have?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much. I would say the youth empowerment, it is based on the sustainable youth development, which something is UAE has been very much pioneer. So the factor of leadership effectiveness actually comes when we really understand that the sustainable development leadership, it is focusing on the sustainable development, which is the main factor is the human. And there is no geographical boundary into that. So once we understand and once the youth have been educated on the ethical part of that, so they have probably be in the right leadership direction. So the main factor would be a systematic youth development to empower them.
That's nice. Truly, if I were to be answering this question, I would say that passion is the main factor. It's because one may need determination to actually make change and break barriers. So it's still interesting to hear your perspectives on that. I want to now delve deeper into the key elements that empower youth leadership and building inclusive communities. I would like to start off with Dr. Mohammed. So your work bridges between Arabic and Islamic studies, right? With contemporary social issues. So inclusivity, I do believe, is often deeply connected to values and identities. So in your perspective, how can religious and cultural values guide young leaders in creating this inclusive and responsible community?
هو طريقة أو كيفية تدريس هذه القيم، وهذا يعني ليس فقط يعود إلى المدرسة أو إلى الجامعة، منذ يعني تربية يعني هؤلاء الشباب قبل أن يصلوا إلى سن يعني الشباب منذ الطفولة. يعني إذا الشاب يعني تربى في جو عائلي يعني نمى فيه القيم الإنسانية، احترام الآخر، العيش مع الآخر، احترام قيم هي في الأخير قيم إنسانية لا تتفرد بها ديانة دون أخرى يعني، بل أنها أستسمحكم أن هذه القيم الإنسانية التي يعني تدافع عن الحق في الحياة، عن كرامة الضمير، عن احترام الآخر، عن كانت حتى قبل الديانات يعني، والفضل يعود للديانات بطبيعة الحال في تعميقها، في صونها، في تعميمها، في الدفاع عنها. ثم إذا كان يعني النظام التعليمي حاضن لكل هذه القيم ويدرسها بطريقة يعني منذ الصغر، الأطفال يعني تتم تربيتهم على احترام هذه القيم وتطبيقها في حياتهم اليومية، فهو أحسن يعني عملية تلقيح يمكن أن نقوم بها، تلقيح للعقول وللقلوب بدءا من الصغر حتى نعد الأطفال الذين هم سيصلون إلى سن الشباب، سيدخلون سوق الشغل، سيتزوجون، سيبنون عائلات، سيتحملون مسؤوليات داخل حكومات محلية أو إقليمية أو جهوية، ولما لا سيمثلون بلدانهم في مؤسسات أو منظمات دولية، ستكون لهم مناصب في منظمات دولية مثل الأمم المتحدة وغيرها. إذن نحن نعدهم أن يكونوا قادرون أولاً على العيش مع الآخر أو التعايش مع الآخر، وفي نفس الوقت أن يدافعوا على هذه القيم ويساهموا في خلق ما نسميه بالمجتمعات المتماسكة أو يعني وهي يعني الصمام أو المؤمن الذي يحمي المجتمعات من كل المشاكل التي لسوء الحظ على امتداد على الأقل خلال القرن الأخير يعني عانت على الأقل يعني ما هو مؤرخ الإنسانية من حروب أو حربين عالميتين، إضافة إلى بعض الحروب الإقليمية التي في الأخير تكون انعكاساتها على الجميع. فبفضل هذه التربية فنحن نعيد ليس فقط يعني للآن ولكن على الأمد المتوسط والبعيد لضمان العيش في السلام ليس فقط لبلد معين أو لمجتمع معين ولكن للإنسانية جمعاء. وهذا يعود بطبيعة الحال إذا قام كل بلد بدور المنوط به، لأن هذا يتطلب يعني عمل مشترك بين كل المجتمعات وفي نفس الوقت داخل كل مجتمع بين كل فئاته، يعني كل مكونات المجتمع. والشباب هم أحد أهم الشباب اليوم هم أحد أهم مكونات المجتمعات الحالية، خصوصا أنهم يحظون بتعليم وبتكوين رصين يفوق مستوى الأجيال السابقة، يحسنون أو أغلبهم يحسنون استعمال وسائل التواصل الاجتماعي بطريقة يعني مسؤولة وذكية، أقول أغلبهم وليس كلهم، وكذلك لهم يعني طرق ذكية لاستعمال هذه الوسائل خدمة لمجتمعاتهم وللإنسانية بشكل عام.
Thank you. Professor Zekirija, I want to move on to you. So building on Dr. Mohammed's point about education and values, I do believe that dialogue becomes essential in diverse communities. So from your experience, how can young leaders effectively promote interfaith and international dialogue to bridge these differences?
So you see, we work, let me go out of this text, we work in the University of Innsbruck for a long time in Austria, in a joint project, interfaith-based religious education. Mm-hmm. So we have experienced there how we can deal with each other and how we can work there, because we as Muslims are a small minority there, so what is not the case in these states there. So the problem is, how can we work still together? And I can just say whatever my colleague said before. I mean, the feeling of empathy, the ability to listen. So there is an ability that we are losing with the time, and one of the most famous philosophers in Germany, Hans-Georg Gadamer, said once that the real art in a conversation is to listen and not to speak. And sometimes when we are in dialogue, mostly we speak and we don't have the time to listen to another one, especially to the marginalized one, to the smallest group, and to have the empathy to understand them and to feel and to see the world from their perspective. Mm-hmm. And I think one of our methods that we are using there is to listen to the other one and to know, of course, that every kind of knowledge that we have is only based on what we know, and it's our perception. So that's not the truth in itself, but we have only a part of the truth, and the truth in itself is more than any human being can have. So if you are in a dialogue with another group with this, let's say, perception that the truth is in between and everybody has his own perspective, I think that that is one step towards what you said, inclusivist, I would say, like a pluralist approach. Mm-hmm. So that would be an answer from my side.
Okay, so you've highlighted the importance of listening, not dialogue. I want to now move to, you know, like many youth engage more on digital platforms, right, rather than traditional spaces. The youth, they engage in...
I don't...
Okay. Sorry. Youth, they do engage in social media platforms, digital platforms. Yes. So how does that hinder or basically help them to build this inclusive community?
How to build with it?
Do you think they use more traditional? I do believe that they do use digital platforms like social media does that hinder their ability to basically build this inclusive community, or does it help?
So, you know, whenever we have innovation, it's a problem between tradition and the innovation.
Yes.
So everybody says now we have this and we lost whatever. Before 20 years or 50 years, people said the same thing about the television, so that and the word, but now it's normal. I think it depends on how you use it. It's a problem because sometimes we use it too often and then we think that this is the reality, and that is not the reality. And sometimes we speak in this social media things that we wouldn't speak if we would be in a real world. So that's a problem. So we are sometimes, we have many friends, but we are alone because we are sitting at home. So it's a problem for the socialization sometimes if you are very often in this social media. But if you know the place of social media, I mean, we have to use it because it's the reality of our time. So it's like, it's not, it's natural. It depends on what we do with it. And it's on itself doesn't have any value. If we use it as we should use it, and we are aware of what it has negative and positive, it can be, of course, something positive because we are connected with people with whom we wouldn't be connected if we wouldn't have it. Like if we wouldn't have the planes, I wouldn't be here. But if we misuse it and if we change it, or if we don't distinguish between the reality in where we live and this cyber world, then it can have, of course, a negative impact on that what you asked.
Okay, thank you so much. Dr. Ben-Shalom, Professor Zekirija pointed about digital platforms and social media. So this raises the question of connection to heritage and community identity. So from your work on the Yemenite society and cultural documentation, what lessons can young leaders today learn from basically community histories to foster inclusivity?
First of all, you have to build trust with the young Yemenite students, whatever, to build trust. Why? They have their own events. For example, our families and the adult families, they have events like in the weekends, whatever, with a tradition from the past. Now the new generation, they have raised on the different cultures. So in order to take their trust, we have to listen to the local voices. So what are the local voices? For example, if we want to give them a lecture about empowering the community. So they told us, we don't want to hear this lecture in a whole fancy hotel. We want to do that in our environment. For example, for a small club, for a small hall, because we used to be there. So what we do, we give the lecturers from the academy to give them lecture to their places, to build their trust that what we tell them is something for them. Another example that I can give you, that when I was the director of the Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs, we have problems with young children and girls that went addicted to drugs. What we do with that? So what we have done, it was my thought. I took former prisoners that were addicted to drugs. They got out from the prison and they became, you know, the mentor of those children. So they know, they understand them. So what I find that former addicted adults now became a leader for children, a youth, and they believe them, they get the trust, and it's something that outcome results and consequences, that they became by themselves mentors to other children, not to go to drugs, whatever. So what I try to say, and on the other thing, I build groups of young children that study the poets, the songs, and the traditional of Yemenite tradition. So when they come to it for weekend in Shabbat, for example, instead of going to pub or see whatever, they sit and sing the traditional songs. They like it very much. So to go and to convince young people is to make them the leaders. So what we do, we finance them and give them budget to build their own leadership. So when we give them budget, they say, we want to do that our way. So the adults and the young getting together, and the young conduct all the events. So we come to their events, we respect them, and they become the future leaders.
Thank you. I want to ask you, how can young people today balance preserving cultural identity with embracing the modern inclusivity values?
Inclusivity, and it's something that it's very, very important for us and for marginal communities. What we do, we show them that they are part of the general community in Israel. So instead of threat them different, so we empower them by giving them responsibility. For example, I am member of the board of the World Federation of all the Arabs Jewish from Morocco and Iraq and Yemen. So what we have done, we have established a young federation, age 20 to 30, and we give them the feeling that they are the leaders. So now they are part of us, they are leaders, and that's the way that we take them out of the feeling that they are different and they are part of us. So inclusivity, we gain by giving them the power to be the leaders.
That's very interesting. Thank you so much. Dr. Rashed, building on the idea of balancing tradition and modernity. So let's shift to another crucial pillar of inclusivity, which is sustainability, your field of expertise. So in your work on sustainable development, how do you see the connection between environmental responsibility and inclusive community building?
That's good. Environmental responsibility and inclusivity.
Yes.
Well, environmental sustainability is part of the sustainable development. And as I talked earlier, the sustainable development, all those 17 goals and 169 targets, it solely focuses on the human. And as I said, there is no boundary on which part of the world of the human we're talking about. The definition of the sustainable development is current generation and future generation. It doesn't say which part of the world, which race. So having environmental sustainability part of the sustainable development applies to that as well. We protect the environment for the sake of protecting the public health, without any subcategories to the human. Because environmental standards are designed to protect public health. So it's as simple as that. And the ethical part of that will help us and the youth to know that we're protecting the environment because we want to keep the ecosystem healthy, because environmental pollution doesn't have any boundaries at all, either air pollution or soil pollution or water pollution. It's a very small global community.
Can you share an example of a youth-led initiative that basically created this social inclusion within a community, if you have any?
Examples of?
A youth-led initiative of sustainability. A youth-led initiative of...
youth initiatives?
Yes.
Okay. Oh yeah, I can give, there are a lot of examples, but let me talk about what we do at our institute.
Okay.
We have Sustainable Development Research and Training Institute. We are very much focused on the environmental sustainability. And we have worked for 3 amazing projects with the youth, and I'm talking about youth who are in high school and university. One initiative project is to capture carbon dioxide from the source. The other project is to use green hydrogen, not the brown hydrogen. Everybody's using brown hydrogen. Green hydrogen, and to utilize that to generate electricity for the communities who have no access to electricity, or they have no access to fuel to produce electricity. So it's a water to use electricity. And the third one is a very innovative waste packaged, small packaged wastewater treatment plant. So these initiatives, they are hand-on practice for the youth. It's not the leadership for the youth. It's not sitting back and remote monitoring. It starts from the field. So these are the good examples. I can share even more details on what we do. And there are thousands of other examples that each authority, I know within UAE, they can talk about it.
Thank you so much to every one of you. Thank you for sharing your thoughts, insights, and expertise. But before we conclude, I want to ask each one of you again one last question. If there was this one message and a piece of advice that you want to give to youth who are trying to build this inclusive community, what would that piece of advice be? Dr. Mohammed?
أعتقد أنه يعني السلام أو العيش المشترك هذه يعني مسؤوليتنا جميعا، على كل واحد منا أن يقوم بالدور المنوط به للوصول إلى هذا الهدف، للعمل يعني على خلق مجتمعات يمكن أن نتعايش فيها دون خلافات ودون حروب. وفي نفس الوقت رسالة يعني إلى كل صانع القرار، عليهم أن يشركوا كل مكونات المجتمع في خلق هذه الثقافة، في التخطيط ليس فقط على الأمد القريب والمتوسط بل كذلك البعيد. وحينما أقول عن طريق إشراك كل مكونات المجتمع، ليس فقط السياسي أو المسؤول أو الذي تم انتخابه أو الذي تم تعيينه، ولكن كذلك الذين لا يمرون عبر أو لا يعينون بمراسيم رسمية أو لأنهم تم انتخابهم من قبل صناديق الاقتراع. أقصد أساساً جمعيات المجتمع المدني بحكم ارتباطها بمشاكل المجموعات المهمشة أو المقصية أو التي تعاني مشاكل اجتماعية اقتصادية إلى آخره، بحكم تجربة جمعيات المجتمع المدني، بحكم يعني بحكم يعني قربهم يعني من المشاكل. أحد مكونات المجتمع التي عليهم إشراكها المرأة، فهي نصف المجتمع ليس فقط يعني قولا ولكن واقعا. إذا عدنا إلى برنامج الإسكان للأمم المتحدة، فالمرأة تشكل أكثر من 50% من ساكنة العالم. حينما أتكلم عن إشراك كل مكونات المجتمع أقصد كذلك الشباب، لأن لا يجب الحديث عن الشباب عماد المستقبل. الشباب هو ركيزة الحاضر، لأن الشباب يعيش ويتعايش مع أقرانه، يدرس في المدرسة أو في الجامعة. فعلينا خصوصا شباب اليوم كما سبق وذكرت، بحكم تكوينه يعني الجيد، بحكم انفتاحه عن العالم عن طريق استعمال التكنولوجيا الجديدة ووسائط التواصل الاجتماعي، بحكم قدرته يعني على الخلق والابتكار، يجب توظيف ذلك من قبل أصحاب القرار في كل مجتمع وفي كل بلد. عليهم أن يوظفوا هذه القدرة على الابتكار وعلى التجديد في خدمة المجتمع والإنسانية جمعاء، وإلا فستوجه إذا تم إقصاء الشباب ولم يتم إشراكهم، سيوجه الشباب كل هذه الإمكانيات الهائلة التي يتوفر عليها تكوين معرفة بالتكنولوجيا الجديدة ووسائط التواصل الاجتماعي، القدرة على الخلق والابتكار، سيوجهها إلى مشاريع أو قضايا يمكن أن تضر بالمجتمع بالبلد وبالإنسانية جمعاء. لهذا قلت يعني أنه يجب إشراك كل مكونات المجتمع، ليس فقط عن طريق يعني إعطاء هذه المجموعات الحيز الذي يناسبها حسب النسمة التي يمثل أو النسمة التي يمثلونها على مستوى ساكنة المجتمع والبلد أو عالميا إلى آخره، ولكن على مستوى تكييف قوانين كل بلد. يعني القوانين تقصي تهمش المرأة، لا تشركها في اتخاذ القرارات. القوانين تهمش الشباب، تتكلم عن الشباب في المستقبل، عماد المستقبل، تفكر باسم الشباب. وهنا أضع قوس بطبيعة الحال، دولة الإمارات تبقى استثناء في هذا المجال، لأنها يعني عينت كوزير للشباب أو وزير للشباب شاب أو شابة عمره 22 شابة عمرها 22 سنة، بمعنى أنها تعرف لغة الشباب، تعرف مشاكل الشباب، وتعرف كيف تخاطب الشباب، وتعرف كيف تدافع عن يعني المشاريع التي تهم الشباب في اجتماعات مجلس الوزراء. ولكن تجارب مثل هذه ربما لهذا قلت يعني أترك هذا الاستثناء. فحينما قلت يعني تكييف قوانين البلد مع التحولات السريعة التي يعرفها العالم، لأن اليوم قوة أي بلد لا تقاس فقط بمستوى منتوجه الداخلي الخام أو قدرته على التسلح أو قوة اقتصاده، بل كذلك تقاس بمستوى تماسكه الاجتماعي عن طريق إشراك كل مكونات المجتمع في التأسيس لدولة المؤسسات، دولة تحترم نفسها وتحترم مواطنيها عن طريق إشراكهم في اتخاذ القرارات والتخطيط للمستقبل، لا التعامل معهم كقاصرين والتخطيط باسمهم واتخاذ القرارات باسمهم.
إن شاء الله. شكرا لك دكتور. Thank you. Professor Zekirija?
Can you repeat again a question?
Sorry. What is one advice you want to give to youth who are trying to build this inclusive community? A piece of advice or a message even?
I will be very short. I think they should take their chances first of all, and they should try to go their own way, and they should take responsibility and to not have any fear from making mistakes. I think there are very crucial points, and for the people who are not so young anymore, they should try to not be an obstacle and to speak about youth, but give them the responsibility so they can take the responsibility when they are still young, and they don't need to be old then to take the responsibility. I think there is a mutual process. So one thing is take responsibility, go your own way, and try to make the best of it.
Hopefully. Thank you. Dr. Yigal?
Well, I think we have to change the discate. In Israel, like in UAE, there is diversity of communities, Druze and Muslim and Christians and Jewish, Orthodox, ultra-Orthodox, secular, whatever. So I think that what you have to do for them is not for them, by them. They should enhance dialogue between themselves and listening to each other. For example, it's in music and it's also in lectures and in studies curriculum. Usually when you come to inclusive community, you ask them about their community. No. What I've done in Israel, for music, for example, I took the most famous singer from Morocco, for example, from Arabic music, and the most famous from Europe, like from England, and the most famous from music in Arab. We put them on the same stage and with the same orchestra, and we told them, now you sing your own heritage. And then all of them sang one same song. That's one example why the audience come from inclusive different communities, you know, and they become together. The other thing that I would recommend to them, and I do that, now don't ask them about their heritage and what they think. I think you should take a neutral subject like pollution, for example, and environment, and ask the inclusive community, what do you think about pollution, not about something that's specific to your community, so he will feel part of the nation. I mean, you ask minorities about something that something that's very important to the whole community, not to his community. So that's the way that we empower them. And I think it's a change of thinking. Think and take a subject that is part of the national subject, not only yours. The reason that they do that is because they will be part of us. And that's the way to make inclusivity less influent in our community.
Thank you so much. Dr. Rashed?
Thank you. I play guitar, drums, and piano. So, and I started that when I was very young. So,
I've noticed that on Instagram. I saw you.
Yeah. I want to say something about what's happening right now in this hall, related to your question. We're talking about youth development. We are talking about youth empowerment and youth leadership. And that group, they are sitting all the way in the corner there. Look at that.
Yeah, true.
They are the one who are supposed to be here. So the first thing is that they should not exclude themselves. And it's our responsibility to include them. And we haven't done that. We are talking to each other. An issue doesn't relate to us much. It relates to them. And there's already a barrier. So I wish you guys in your next sessions come and fill the gaps here in front. So that's number one. The second thing is that the leadership is progressive. And the youth doesn't have to be at the age of 18, 20, or 22. In UAE, it can go up to 35. It's progressive, and there are certain steps for the youth leadership, which I would advise them. First thing is to make sure you get your academic achievement. The second thing is to have experience in the field based on your academic achievement. The third is to have achievements based on your experience. Get a lot of leadership skills, and then you are ready as a youth to take the responsibility of the leadership. So don't try to rush yourself just because a youth you want to occupy. To lead, you don't have to have the title. Okay, so I see you guys here very soon then.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for your thoughts and everything you've said. By that, we conclude our panel discussion. Thank you so much.
لو سمحتي كلمة أخيرة لأن فاتني أن أشكر يعني جنود الخفاء يعني الذين كانوا سببا في هذه اللمة الطيبة يعني أقصد الأخوين يعني الدكتور فواز والدكتور فراس رئيس والأول رئيس والثاني مدير معهد باحث الإمارات وكذلك كل يعني أعضاء اللجنة التنظيمية واللجنة العلمية يعني على مهنيتهم العالية وعلى تتبعهم لنا منذ ما يزيد على 4 شهور وكذلك يعني شكر وزارة التسامح والتعايش على احتضانها لهذه الفعالية ما أحوجنا إلى فعاليات كهذه للتأسيس لثقافة تسامح وعيش مشترك للجميع. شكرا.
بكل تأكيد. شكرا لك. Thank you all.